And welcome back to the 12th Man, episode 9. Calum Quigley on this week's special guest. Great to have you on, Calum.
Cheers, Gary. What's happening? Good to be
Our
on.
lockdown's happening, isn't it? This is the thing. We're going to be
Aye.
locked up for the next, 6 weeks from Boxing Day. So hopefully these shows keep people, some they do, not. But what do you think? 6 weeks lockdown, Calum? What do you think?
Not ideal. We'll not get too much on it, but sure. That's what it is now at this stage, isn't it?
Tell you what, I just got back. Just got back at the football coaching too, hey, by Maiden City. Going to be shut down now again. Don't know what I'm going to do myself over these next 6 weeks. Obviously, we're going to be shut down from hospitality as well. So Christmas is going to be very different this year. We'll not be out with our mates and stuff. And we'll obviously be inside. But the one good thing is, Callum, the Premier League will still be on. So we will have something to watch and something to talk about. And the Premier League gave us a proper game on Wednesday night, and that was Liverpool against Spurs. Now, obviously, even a Liverpool fan would have been very happy with the outcome of the game. I actually topped a 1-1 draw here on Tuesday show, and it was about 2 minutes away from injury and 1 minute of time from getting that result right. So on the game, how did you think Liverpool played, and did you think they won the game?
I think Liverpool played better than what they expect them to. I thought after the 1-1 draw on Sunday, definitely we were going to come out firing. It wasn't good enough performance, so I knew that we were going to come out well. Well, everyone knew really what the story was going to be of the game. Spurs will sit back, Liverpool dominate the game. That's exactly what happened. Thought the first half was excellent, bar the one chance that we conceded and some buried it. But other than that, there, I think on the balance of play, you can have a case for both teams on who should win it, because the Spurs had some great chances, they won, but as a Liverpool fan, I'm going to say I think we dominated the game, so we deserved to win it.
Actually, you don't agree with Mourinho's comments at the end of the game where he said the best team lost. Klopp didn't agree, but Mourinho said the best team lost, so you wouldn't agree on that one?
No, I mean that I can see his argument, because he's always if you go on strictly the chances alone and forget about the possession, the Bergwijn 2 chances, Kane had a free header, so he's could have ran away with it on our day, but I suppose we had chances as well in the first half, but I think on the balance of thing we deserved it.
This is the thing, because everybody's going, he didn't really do that much, he sat back. But you know what Mourinho's going to do? I mean, there was no surprises. He was always going to, you're going to Anfield, right? And they've took 106 of the last 108 points available at home. 66 games unbeaten now or something like that. So it shows you you're going back 3 years there for their last defeat, and they've only had one draw and out of the last 108 points. So it shows you the size of the task, and that's obviously they've had a couple of defeats in Europe as well. And but you look at hitting Barcelona 4-0 there and stuff. So you know what's going to be a very difficult game. Liverpool dominant possession in most of their games. Probably when they play Man City is probably the only time they don't have more possession than the other team in the league. So you're expecting the dominant possession at home. So the first half, I was quite surprised, because Spurs in the first half have been sort of trying to counter-attack, and that's been when they've been better. I thought Mourinho's plan this time was obviously to sit back and just soak up as much pressure as they could and get the half-time, probably 0-0. Obviously that didn't happen. There was a massive deflection for the first goal. But then you could say, if you sit back that much, there's always a risk of that happening, a deflection, because you've so many people behind the ball. And Spurs have been getting quite lucky the last few games.
Especially Liverpool as well. Well, with Liverpool, the quality of Liverpool, if you're going to sit back for 90 minutes, you could be nearly guaranteed you're going to give away a few good chances. So,
to be honest, when the goal goes in, I thought game over, to be honest. But Liverpool had one lapse in concentration in that first half and let Spurs back in. Yep. And then they get to half time, and you think, geez, Spurs can't play much. Not that they could. I don't think they played badly, but I thought going forward we didn't offer enough, and I thought going forward we'd have a lot more in the second half to offer. Also looked at the fact that Liverpool didn't have a lot on the bench to change it. So at half time I was feeling pretty confident. Obviously the second half started. I thought Spurs had the best spell in that first 20 minutes of the second half. They obviously had them chances.
They started well.
And then towards the last 15 or 20 minutes, Liverpool sort of got back into the ascendancy. And that's always going to happen. Towards the end of the game, Spurs are always going to probably say, we've got a point to hold on to here. we're not going to, if we can't win it, don't lose it. And you think that there are a couple of half chances in there, but they defended really, really well. For Aurier was absolutely brilliant. They kept Manny quiet. And
I thought Aurier was a man of the match for Spurs, I know.
I thought he was excellent. And then that one lapse at the end, concentration, set piece. And that's been our issue all season, set pieces.
I was laughing too because I was chatting and well, we've been, since Van Dijk and Gomez has been out, set pieces have been non-existent for us. So I thought there's no chance. Like every time we got a corner on Wednesday night, I was thinking there's no way we're going to ever score from this year because we haven't. I can't remember we scored many corner goals this year at all. Set pieces have been non-existent.
So the fact that did you see the video with Tom Sherwood? He was saying, "Oh, I'm ready with the corner," and then boom, goal. That's almost typical Spurs. They've just had so much. I don't want to say bad luck, but they've had wee things like some, maybe not bad luck, but really poor like decisions. Like Lloris OG a couple of years ago, that 2-1 defeat. Manny last year, or was it Aurier on Manny for a penalty? About 7 months to go last year in Anfield. You think about Song around the keeper at 1-0 in that game and hitting the bar. You think about Bergman's chance to make it 2-1 in that game on Wednesday. You think about the Sissoko chance a couple of years back before that. Spurs have had their chances at Anfield and they just always seem to get punished at the end.
And that's the way it goes, really. But you're thinking if Kane or Son's on the Bergwijn chance, he buries it and then it's game over. But then Kane goes as a muscle header too, like.
Getting back to the thing, right, about what Mourinho said about he thinks the best team lost. It's hard to say that based on obviously what you were saying about possession, but I do understand where he's coming from because he's looking at it thinking my game plan worked really well. The goal they scored was a deflection, and the other one was a set piece, which unforgivable. In terms of open play, it's another game open play. Spurs haven't conceded a goal, so they've been really, really good at the back from open play, and they've obviously again when you go to Anfield, you're only going to get a couple of chances anyway. There's not too many teams go there, even when they play maybe at more.
To be fair, Liverpool give you chances, and even with the Van Dijk and Gomez out, we're giving chances away.
But even at Anfield this year, they beat Wolves 4-0, they beat Leicester 3-0, beat Arsenal 3-1. And if you watch them games, them teams didn't really create anything, and they're not. And you look, maybe Arsenal are a bit more defensive under Arteta, but Leicester are known for being an attacking team. Doesn't really create anything. So it's not like teams go there and create loads of chances anyway. So I was never expecting Spurs to get 6 or 7 chances. I was thinking if we get 2 or 3 chances in the game, we're going to have to pick them. And the reality is,
I thought you got more than enough chances, to be honest.
You think about the one they scored, and then the Bergwijn hitting the post, and the Kane chance. There's 3, and there was one before that where Bergwijn was a half chance as well at the start of the second half.
There was enough there to call off the game.
There was enough, and if the game, I actually think if the game had a finished 1-1. No team could have really said they deserved it. No, I thought a draw would have been fair enough. But obviously,
I was saying that myself to me. I thought if it ends 1 each, you can't really complain.
No, I'm to be honest, sometimes I'd be raging after games, and honestly, it was obviously a sickener towards the end. But I was really proud of how the team done in the game in terms of they didn't like Spurs or like the year before. Gazaniga making 25 saves and we get beat 2-1, and you felt that it was a 2-1, but it could have been a 6-1. I know Son had that chance at 1-0, they make it 2-0. But that was in the first half. Gazaniga made about 15, 16 saves, and the second half was the same. It was constant shots and stuff. Whereas this game, it did feel a lot more controlled than what Spurs was doing. They look a lot better now when they're playing that way. Even when they try to do under Pochettino, when they try to sit back a bit because the teams are better, they had no clue how to do it. At least now, when they do it, they look a bit more.
I thought aware. How the game was poised. I thought the record at Anfield was under serious threat. To be honest, the way we knew that you were going to get a few chances in the counter. And when you're on the counter, you're always going to get great chances, and you had space to win the game. But
you know what? I said to my dad, when Bergwijn missed that chance, that's going to come back to bite us. Like, just knew. Like, and I was thinking, even if we get a draw, it would be all right. We could have won it, but still, getting that draw, they lose it like that at the end was awful. And it's leaving Firmino in space like that. It's just mark up. And you can't blame the coach because set pieces. All right, you can organize a team, but these boys have been playing football a long time. You know from your young age they mark your man. And they just don't do it. Like, I don't know, set pieces.
I suppose with a possession as well, that we were always going to concede the chances near the end, and you were hanging on a bit.
Nah, you know what I mean? It's hard to take, but in the end, Liverpool do what Liverpool do, and they get the 1. I did see vulnerabilities on that performance though as well from Liverpool. I know they were quite good, but just the way that goal the Spurs scored, it just seemed like that's not the type of goal they were conceding last year. I think they must. I was saying, me and Sam were chatting about it on the show the other day, and we sort of were saying, I think Fabinho was a massive loss in that midfield. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
He plugs them holes.
There's no one else. We don't have anybody else for centre half, but we must have them in the midfield big time. And you were saying that that's not really like Liverpool, but if you watch Liverpool this season, that's a regular occurrence. So we get on, teams get on behind, and they give 2 or 3, 4 chances a game to near to every team now at this stage.
See, one thing I want to talk about on the show as well. Obviously, we don't condone anything like this, and I don't care if you're a Spurs fan or any other team. I wouldn't, and this happens a lot, unfortunately. But Bergwijn after the game has obviously been abused on Instagram by Spurs fans after the miss hitting the post. What's your thoughts on that, Calum? Now, obviously, this is something that happens across all clubs. Probably not so much associated with yourselves because you've been so successful the last couple of years. But I know it happens at Arsenal and Manchester United, and it's not something that you want to see.
I mean, it's as you said, it's every player now, every team with social media. If there's someone that has a bad game or a bad miss or something, as you said, it's almost normal now at this stage, even though it's not. Right.
And this is the thing, because I mean, Bergwijn doesn't mean he must. Do you know what I mean? He tried to score, he hit the post. Do you know what I mean? And on another day that goes on. I mean, it's not like he.
Of course.
Guided.
And then
he was so close to scoring the goal. And you know what? He's not Harry Kane, and he's not Son. He's not at that level. He's on there for his work rate. Don't get me wrong. He's got a wee bit of quality with him. And he's young. He's only 22. Like, he's younger than me. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. He's going to make mistakes. And he did not mean he missed that chance. And he goes home after the game and he sees all these messages. Like, it's just not right.
Especially for a young player too. He's only trying to make his way in, and it's not just him. It's nearly every player now at this stage. It's hard to stop really because of social media and stuff.
And I have to say, like, over the last few weeks, I know he's not been scoring, but his work rate's been incredible. Like,
I think he's a good player. As you said, he's not Kane or Son level, but he's a good player.
He's been leaving nothing on the pitch, and that was really, really sad to see. And again, I'm not saying it's a small minority. It is, and it's the same as any. We were talking. Haven't really brought on the show because there's mixed opinions on it, but we've obviously seen the whole kneeling for the Black Lives Matter movement, and we've seen obviously teams now. There's been a lot of fans booing and stuff, which again I think's wrong. I don't really get into it because there is a lot of different opinions on it. Now, we have been kneeling for a long time. This is going on since the restart in June, so I can understand why maybe fans or certain people thinks it has to stop, but there was ways to go about it, and what they did at that football match was wrong. It was obviously an organised movement, and this is the same sort of thing. Criticise Bergwijn all you want. Nobody's saying you should be scoring a chance like that. No bother. But there's ways of doing it. Do it on your own platform. Do it on the pubs. Well, they're not open. Well, they are open the minute. But do it with your friends or put it on your Facebook account. They actually private message him, and we're not just saying about they'd say, "Oh, how did you miss that chance?" It was verbal abuse. He was getting, so totally wrong.
I suppose he's not the first, and he definitely won't be the last as well, which is sad. But I think it's just the reality of football now, even though it's obviously not right. But it's a
Why can they call themselves fans if they're doing that to their own players? Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand it. They're definitely not fans, like, but it's a widespread issue at this stage now. It's hard to stop.
One other thing from the game was actually two other things. First thing, I thought in terms of quality, the game was really, really good. See these games where there's sort of the big teams play each other and there's 4-4s and 4. I thought it was a really, really good game to watch. Don't get me wrong. See, when my team's not playing, it's great to watch an open game like a 3-3. But in terms of high quality games, you hear Roy Keane talking about Gary Neville. They tend not to be loads of goals. You do see a lot of 1-1s, 2-1s, just really tight, really good stuff. It was going to take deflections. They break down teams, or just in terms of the quality of the game, I thought it was really, really good. What do you think?
I thought we played one of our best games this season, and we knew coming on it there was going to be a higher standard after the fall match, because that obviously wasn't good enough. And then on top of that, you knew what Spurs was going to do. They were going to sit back, invite the pressure. So I was thinking as well that we don't really have that creative link in the midfield yet, even though I thought Jones was one of our best players at the weekend.
I thought Jones was your best player.
He's come on well. I criticise him at the start of the season, but I think he was probably one of our best players, if not the best player on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
he's still not someone like Thiago, where he can kind of threat a pass, but I still do rate him. And then Gini and Henderson's two different types of players. So we knew at the end that it was going to have to be high quality. They get a goal, and then it ended up being a bit of luck. They break the deadlock, but then I thought, as you said, it was a high quality game because Spurs defended really well. All your defence was great. The thought Aurier was your man of the match. He kept Mane quiet near enough the whole game, bar that one chance the second half where he hit the bar. But overall, I do think it was probably one of the best games this season. Like, not even as a biased view from a Liverpool fan.
See, I think a lot of people expect it to be really, really dull and boring, but I didn't personally think it was. I know people will say, "Oh, Mourinho style is this, Mourinho style is that," but I didn't think. Obviously, they were defensive in parts, but the way they come out in the second half, Spurs in that first 20 minutes, they went for it. They were sitting for a point. So there was moments in there where they did sort of go forward and make it good. I thought, as you say, it was a really high quality game. Now, something that's come out of this is obviously, I don't know if you've seen. I think it was the end of the first half. Klopp was having a go with this fourth official or something. I'm not sure exactly what it was for. But Mourinho was obviously being Mourinho after the game, and again, I've said you before, I think he can be classless at times. And just his team's lost, and he's probably unhappy, and he's coming out and saying about, "Oh, if I did what he did, I'd be getting banned." And he said about what Pep did as well in the Man City game. I don't know if you've seen that, but he actually tried to stop the fourth official putting up the added time at the end of the half. He actually grabs the board with his two hands as well, which I thought was really wrong. I would imagine there should have been some punishment out of that. Obviously, a lot wasn't made about it, but he actually tried to physically stop him putting up the added time, and it was going on for quite some time as well. It wasn't like a couple of seconds; it was going on for maybe 10, 15 seconds where he was trying to stop him. But I thought that was wrong, and obviously Klopp can be very vocal as well on the touchline. But what do you think about Mourinho saying that? About if he don't, he'd be getting banned. And there's different rules for him.
I mean, as you say, it's classic Mourinho because on one side, I do agree that he has a point. Like Klopp and Pep, they're vocal on the touchline and the whole grabbing the board and all. I agree that was wrong. And then, near enough any manager can be that though. But then I agree that he has a point. But at the other hand, sure, what you could rhyme off 10 things that Mourinho's done, but throughout the years, like one down that touchline, one Chelsea beat us in 2015, and stuff like that. There, he's been class.
Just all mind, and this is starting to annoy me now because it's just all mind games constantly between these managers. These are all at it. Klopp and
they're all trying to get paid. That's all it is.
Klopp and Pep. I mean, Mourinho or Klopp was saying last week that Mourinho's turned Spurs on the winning machine before the game, and I was like, that's just more mind games because that's complete bullshit. Do you mean we only had won like 7 out of the 12 games?
Mourinho says we have no one injured, and there I was like, it's back and forth every week at this stage.
He was going on about, he was naming all these players that he's had were fit, like Mane and Salah and Firmino and Alisson, but he didn't mention the whole defence was nearly injured. Alexander-Arnold's just come back from injury, and they've obviously a crisis at centre half, and it's obviously led to Fabinho coming into the midfield as well. So there was obviously knock-on effects to it. But again, it was just more mind games, and I'll be honest, I'm getting sick of it, to be honest, but we have to put up with. So, just the final thing on it, right, from a sort of Spurs perspective, there's not too many times you can look at a game and go, when you lose, there's positives, but I did see a lot of positives on it. Now, they're only have to follow it up with a win now this weekend, to be honest. It won't be no good if they go out and draw that, but if they can sort of take on from this and go on a run there on the next 3 or 4 games, and let's be honest, no team's really been doing that 1 in 4, 5, 6 games in a row. So even if you do that, you'll probably get yourself back in there. Just on it, just on that as well. Consistency wise, Liverpool's going to have to start doing it away from home, aren't they? Because they seem to be pretty consistent at home, but away from home, no good now if they go and draw by Palace after beating Spurs, is it?
Of course, and I'm actually worried about the Palace games. It's a tricky one, but obviously the home record speaks for itself. But if you look at our away record this year, and even going on after the lockdown, like the end of last season, hasn't been great, to be honest. And as you say, like if we want to go and win the league back to back, you have to start picking up points away from home because we rarely drop points at home. We won nearly every game, and on the odd day we might drop points. So you're looking at Palace now. You're thinking if they can get that one there, and then West Brom and Newcastle at the end of the year and get on a bit of a run, then it's up to the rest of them to catch us.
Palace away on Saturday, that'll be a hard game for you. Well, I really think that'll be tough, especially going there, and psychologically too. It'll be in their back of the head about the 6 games this year away from home. They've only won 1. So that's gone. Palace away is always a tough game for no matter
I
when
was
how
sure
bad they're playing. You always go there and you like.
you should
And
have hit them there and do like your before playing us, but the
uh,
keeper
keeper made a
kept them
couple of
off
great
him.
saves there.
Saves, yeah.
No, I thought he's going to have an hour game like that. That was just one of them ones.
Uh,
But they have played, and I was going to say this about Jones as well. Jones it takes real courage to get on the ball and dribble and try to beat players.
definitely.
And you look at players, you look at teams like Arsenal at the moment, and their fans are crying out for somebody like that. And it's just, and it does come into confidence too. But obviously his confidence is up, and he is going past players. It does open up gaps. And he is, as I said, he is playing a lot of confidence. But if you go to this Palace game now, you look at Zaha and Eze, they're two players that love to dribble and take players on. And I still think, and I am a big fan of him still, I'm a big fan of him, but I still think he can be quite naive at the back, and that is Alexander Arnold. And if Zaha's up against him, that's going to be a difficult afternoon for him because we know how good he is going forward. But to me, there is a lot of work to do in his defensive game.
I mean, I would agree with you, but at times I think he does get too much criticism. I don't think he's a bad defender. The way he put off Bergwijn as well for the half chance on midweek. Like obviously, since we're such an attacking team, he's attacking. You already know how good he is going forward. Like so, he rarely does get tested at the back. But I'm thinking back at this year. The only game I've really seen him too exposed really was the Villa match, which you can argue is a one-off. I think it was. But I
understand. It's a scapegoat sort of thing.
Like, well, the way we play is obviously it was talked about Monday Night Football was calculated risk and how the fullbacks have to go forward. So you do leave that option.
I think that's where they're missing Fabinho too on there because he usually covers
he would cover out there and then if he covers it, then it's a great game for Arnold. But since
I just think with a goal the other night as well, he didn't step up and he left Son on side. Just think there's wee things in his game he can improve.
And Zaha, I don't think he's perfect. Like no one, he's not. I'm not saying he's a great defender, but I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be at times as well.
And this is why I think Palace are a lot more dangerous this year because a lot of time with Palace, all right, Zaha can have a great game, and even if you try to stop him, it's hard. But when the teams have doubled up on him and he hasn't really been at it, it almost completely stops Palace playing. Eze's now come on and he's very, very similar to him, and he's actually been playing really, really well this season. And he now is another option, and he's very, very similar to Zaha. He'll take players on, right foot, left foot. He's good from set pieces. I'm telling you, Palace are not an easy game. But the only thing I would say it's in your favour, and this was just bad luck from our point, was there's going to be no fans on there. That Palace game, I have never seen an atmosphere like it, even for 2,000 fans. It was electric. And it's even going to Palace when it's a full stadium, it's probably the best atmosphere in the league. But even with the 2,000 fans, I thought it was unbelievable. Now that'll be in your favour. But I'm still expecting scoring of a tough game.
I think it'll be a tough game, but I'll be disappointed if they don't come away one at the end of it, to be honest.
But moving on, we'll talk about that Palace game as we come on to the predictions at the end of the show. But moving on, I'm going to be talking about this has obviously come up quite a lot this season. It's the 5 sub rule. Now, I sort of said my sort of opinion on it before, so I want to get yours and then I'll sort of come on after you. But what is your whole take on this 5 sub rule? Now, just for anyone that doesn't know, they attempted to pass the 5 sub rule in the Premier League game this week and it was rejected. So it will be sticking to the original 3 subs, but one change as you can now have 9 subs on the bench as opposed to 7. I just don't get the way I just don't.
It was brought on for the concussions, so they can bring in a concussion sub if someone gets a head injury.
So they've an extra 2 subs on there, right? I just think it's it's been brought on.
In terms of the 5 subs, anyway, obviously there's a for and against. As a Liverpool fan, I would argue that probably it should be on. It doesn't benefit the teams who don't play in Europe, but then it benefits the teams who do play in Europe, which is obviously evident in the votes because it's basically a 50-50 vote. Me and you were chatting about.
Would you say they should if the 2 European teams? So, for example, Spurs are playing Liverpool and they both play in Europe, then there should be 5 subs available to them because they're playing each other. But if Liverpool's playing, say, Aston Villa, it should only be 3 subs away. Is that what you're saying? Or are you just saying about it only?
No, because we play Villa on Sunday, but we play in midweek, then that defeats the purpose of wanting 5 subs. You know what I mean? It's they cover the whole 38 game season. It's not about. I see a lot of argument. Oh well, Klopp or Pep or Jose or Arteta, all the big 6 teams, they don't bring on 5 subs every game. But It's I don't think that's the principle. I think the principle's trying to
They know where I am
maintain
on it, right?
players.
They know where I'm on it now. I just can't sick listening to it because it's just a complaint every time now Liverpool draw, and this is Pep as well. Every time these teams don't win a game, they just cry on about it. You know what I mean? And you look at that game midweek, and I said before the game, Liverpool don't really have anything on the bench, so I can see why they're not using it now. But they don't even make one sub, so having 5 subs would have completely had no effect, right? Now, there's no. I don't think now. See with the other team, Liverpool's injuries, they're not going to even make 3 subs in a game because
No.
I spoke about this to you before. I don't even think Liverpool or Man City anymore have 5 players on the bench that are equal and quality to their starting 11. They might bring them on for tactical, maybe if they're trying to see out a game or trying to get another goal. I don't think they've got 5 subs on the bench of equal quality. They might have 2 or 3, especially now with your injuries. I don't think Klopp even wants to bring anybody on if it's a tight game because he probably thinks he's weakening the team. If he brings on Origi for Firmino, he probably thinks he's weakening the team. If he brings on Shaqiri for Salah, he probably thinks he's weakening the team and so on. So they probably only come on if he's your 3-0 up or something. You know what I mean?
We done that in the Champions League earlier on in the Champions League. We had the coordinated subs, so we brought off a front 3 against Ajax away from home. But it's rare. We haven't really seen it much this season.
And like a few times now, this has come up, this 5 sub rule, and the Premier League obviously had an hour meeting. I think they do it every few weeks with these conference calls just to see how they can improve things. There was obviously an hour vote. Now the understanding I got was that there was only one team changed from against it, they for it. So there's still not enough. They need 14 out of 20 teams to agree. And you know what? At some stage, it probably will get passed, where it's the end of the season or next season, because every hour league's doing it. I think the thing now that the smaller teams are saying is they don't want it happening mid-season because they don't think it's fair now. So in terms of the integrity of the league, but Man City didn't make a sub against Fulham two weeks ago. Didn't make one sub. Liverpool didn't make a sub against Spurs. They obviously played each other in November, and this is when it all started. And in that game, there was only 3 subs used out of 6. So it just seems that they're making a big deal about it. And that's if they do bring it on, how often is it really going to be used?
Well, I suppose then if they do bring it on and they don't really use it as much as they say they will, then it'll be why did you cry for us for so long? I mean, you say they didn't bring any subs on Wednesday night for Liverpool. Like I don't think we had anybody on the bench really.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't see why he's saying it now anyway. And this is not. I think
he said today on I read it on Sky Sports today or yesterday I think it was. It's not about the advantage anymore now. It's just about player welfare. He keeps saying player welfare.
But sure, he didn't care about player welfare the Arnie because he wasn't subbing them. Do you know what I mean? He knew tight game. If I start taking players off here and we get beat 2-1, do you know what I mean?
He doesn't. He obviously he knows if he does get it, it plays somewhat of an advantage to him. But I don't know. I think now as they voted for it how many times now and it's not gone through. I would just leave it.
Needs to give it up. But that's what I'm saying. See if it was about player welfare and he was having these sub players off in a game against Spurs, I'd say, do you know what? At least he's being sort of true to his word. He's just looking for an advantage. See if he's get a game 3-0 up. He wants to get Salah off, Mane off.
Of course.
This is when it's only going to be used. There's no way he's using this if he's
manager in his position is looking for the same advantage.
Of course. But for me, it's just there's been far too much, and it's just becoming an excuse now. If they do, well, how do I take such and such off? But for me, it just needs to be dropped now, as you say.
I agree.
But we're no experts. We're only trying to speculate on what's happening. But it seems to me what he's saying and what he's doing are completely different. He was making 3 subs against Spurs, taking off Salah for Shaqiri, or taking off Origi for Firmino. I'd say, well, you know what? He's making a case here because, you know what, he's having to take off his best players. And he could probably use the extra 2 because he is worried about getting more injuries. But as Gary Neville said, he's just looking for an advantage as Liverpool because he remembers Ferguson doing it, and this is about the 12:30 kickoffs and stuff. He's just looking for any advantage he can get. And I understand.
It's not no tactic.
It's a results business, and he has to do what's best for Liverpool, not best for everybody else. But it's just the way he's not being consistent with. He's saying one thing and then doing something else. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I get annoyed. But I think by we kick the ball again next season, that's this 5 subs going to be passed, and then that'll be it. But
I don't think they will get passed. I think there's too many the smaller teams.
It's very difficult in every our leagues.
They don't want the pass, but we'll see.
So just looking back on the rest of the weekend's games, the midweek games, Chelsea obviously kicked it off. They played Wolves, and it was another defeat away from home. So back-to-back defeats. So I said about Chelsea this year. You obviously, I don't believe you didn't say this live, but you actually did say to me privately that you don't think they're good enough. And obviously over these two games, it looks like they might not be. They've obviously, and they were very poor in the two games. They had a decent first half against Wolves, but Wolves second half, I think they respected Chelsea too much, and then once they sort of seen them, and then they had a go at them. They looked pretty average at the back, and Wolves second half were really strong. And the Everton game, I didn't see too much of it, but from what I hear, Chelsea were very, very poor. So in them two games, it just looks like maybe they're short. Don't really have the players to change it. They're obviously missing Ziyech, and they actually missed Ziyech at the start of the season. Funny enough, when they were sort of getting all these funny results and they weren't winning games. So Ziyech is obviously looking like he's a massive loss when he's not playing. But just on that, Chelsea, what do you think's happened in the last two games?
I watched the Everton game and they were extremely poor at it. And I actually fancy Chelsea. They go on, to be honest, because Everton
haven't been playing that well.
They were coming off a few defeats as well, I think. So it was a big game for both teams at the time. But I know I said off camera that they weren't good enough. I think they, in terms of the squad, they have the best squad in the league in terms of depth. They could bring you're talking about the five subs. So they don't have five quality players, but they've a good 2 or 3 that they can bring off the bench. You said about Ziyech. I think he's a great player, but I think they're waiting for Havertz to do something. Really, he hasn't really.
He looks. Tell you what, he looks. I have been very surprised with him. I mind watching him for Leverkusen in Germany, like, and he looked a real talent. Now I know he's been out with COVID and stuff, and apparently he had a bad COVID. So obviously people get effects in different ways. He's obviously he's not come out the right side of it. He doesn't look sharp at all or fit. Ziyech is obviously Ziyech is a big loss. But I thought, against Wolves, I watched the game. They relied on Pulisic a lot. If Pulisic didn't do anything, they were in trouble. He looked like the only player that could do something. And Giroud was a good finish for the goal. But Giroud's very.
I think they're relying on Giroud a lot because Werner isn't really.
Werner was very, very poor. He's missing a lot of chances too. He scored, but Chelsea were creating those.
I think they're relying on all them players. They kind of they're not set on it. I know at the minute, but I said later on that they will come good and
I think maybe I might have been a bit naive. They think that they all could have done well. I just thought because it was an open season, they'd be dangerous. But obviously in the last few games they've had a bit of a bump, and that's about trying to fix it now. And they'll be down to Lampard as a manager to try and do it. It's a funny league because they could have been with Liverpool and Spurs dropping points at the weekend. And they obviously played each other. It was an opportunity for Chelsea to get really, really close and possibly go top of the table, and he didn't take any points in them 2 games. And then if they don't win this weekend, and then teams behind them start winning, all of a sudden they're getting dragged into that top 4 when everybody thought it would be Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea. The same goes for Spurs too, really, after they've only had 1 point in them 2 games. So they're going to have to try and get back to winning ways this weekend because you look at the teams behind them all bunching up now, and it's a really tight league. I'm going to speak about some of these teams now, but really, really tight. It's like you can throw a blanket around that sort of top 8 or top 9. It does make it more exciting. And I did say before, I know there's been a lot of inconsistencies in the league compared to teams, but there's a lot more quality. I think these teams are getting a lot closer. There's not really a top. I don't really see it as a top 6 anymore. You look at Arsenal, are obviously struggling, but you look at Leicester and Wolves. They've sort of been consistent over the last few years. They're sort of up there. They've always been consistent enough. They're on that sort of top 7, top 8. Everton's obviously improved under Ancelotti, and Southampton's been strong too. So there's some really, really good sides. Arsenal got a draw against Southampton. Depending on what way you look at it, Arsenal fans might have been happy because before the game, I think they might have been expecting to get pumped. Obviously, the way Southampton's been playing, they were on the top 4 before that game. I'm not sure if they still are, but they're up around that area. And Arsenal were obviously third. Well, Arsenal were obviously coming into the game after 4 home defeats in a row, so they've obviously ended that. But did you watch much of that game?
I watched near enough. I think it was the last 10 minutes of it, and
that stage Arsenal were really hanging on.
It looked like same old Arsenal to me. I thought Southampton were going to thump them, but they ended up getting a draw with.
Do you know what? I was chatting to Sam about this. We were chatting about the Spurs, the Arsenal thing. I just saw that right there. Like, he's playing Southampton. So I don't even think Southampton played that well. First half, they kept the ball. Didn't really create a lot. And then I think Arsenal had a goal in the second half, and they got the goal back, and they looked they could possibly go on and win it, and then they get an red card, and there's obviously an issue with discipline there. This time it wasn't really for petulance, but it was just silly from Gabriel. They hug him back after being on a yellow card.
It was second yellow, to be honest.
It was harsh, but it's just he gave this referee decision to make. And then at that stage against 10 men, with 10 men, you're always going to be trying to hang on for a point. So again, Arteta's been sort of let down by some of the players. But where do you sort of see this going? Because they've got Everton at the weekend and Chelsea after that. You think he needs to get results because it's been they haven't won a game, right? They haven't won a Premier League game since that game at Old Trafford, and that feels like an absolute. It was 2 months ago.
So, I don't know. It seems like a season ago at this stage. Like, but
so
as you say, it's a results business. If he doesn't start picking up results, well, where does it go? Me and you were talking about this off camera as well. Like, you think he could be looking at the sack? I don't think he will be.
See, Arsenal seem to be they give Emery a lot of time. See what's going on with Emery last year. He went like 2 months without one, and then they eventually pulled the plug. And then I was
reading an article about Kjaer wrote and about how Arteta's personality is probably keeping him on a job a bit longer because the fans like him. They take him more. He's
worked with Pep, and that FA Cup at the minute seems to be the only thing sort of he can sort of go back that well won the FA Cup last year. The Arsenal fans are starting to turn. I have been chatting to a few, and they are getting very, very impatient because you look at games, you go right of 4 or 5. It's gone on now a while, and some of the games they've been, I know they lost to Spurs, but some of these are games they've been losing. They haven't really been against the top teams, the Liverpool, Man City, Spurs. They've obviously got Everton, Chelsea coming up. Everton haven't really been playing that well, and then they get them 2-1s back to back. So again, now this becomes an even more difficult game because Everton have sort of turned around a bit. They've sort of got back to how they were at the start of the season. So that's going to be a difficult game for them on Saturday. But Arteta needs to get results soon for me. He needs to start picking up points.
You look at it as well and you're thinking, when is the result going to come? Because after like a few defeats, you think, because the Liverpool drew at the weekend last Sunday, and you just knew they were going to bounce back. Like the Arsenal side,
this is the thing.
And you're thinking, where's the motivation to come back now and get a result?
And Arsenal fans are quick to slag Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but this man, when he loses a game, they tend to bounce back, and they've bounced back, and they've won a few games after that Leipzig one. And they've beat Sheffield United now as well. Obviously, they've been bottom of the league. But hey, you look at the league table, they're only they're 5 points off top, but they have played a game less. They're just quietly just going about their business at the minute in the league. You look at their league form, it's been pretty good. They've got leads.
I was looking at the league and how, no way, well, Ollie and United get a lot of unfair criticism, I think, as well. And they're only, I think it's like 2 points off Chelsea or something like that. They're close anyway. And you look at Chelsea's situation, then everyone might say, "Oh, Frank's doing well," but then for United situation, that's near enough the wheels are falling off.
One defeat for United, that's always get them out. You know, and exactly, not even so much United fans; it's the media.
It's
sort of
the
media, agenda against them.
Like every time United lose, like I would laugh and stuff like that there, but it's never as bad as people make it out to be. I think.
No, I understand there's faults there. Maybe I don't think he's the manager that's going to bring the league title. I don't think he is. But I still think he walked into a mess, an absolute mess. There's no doubt about it. And he's third. This is the most consistent they've been since Ferguson left. So he hasn't done that bad of a job. He's a couple of players short probably. But
do you think he won trophies with him?
I think they have a chance of winning the Europa League this year, or in the League Cup quarter-final. That's going to be tough. They play Everton away next week. That's going to be a hard game. But United will fancy their chances against anybody on one game on one day. They can beat anybody. There's no doubt about it. So I wouldn't rule them out. You look at the Europa League, though. Obviously, look at Spurs, possibly Arsenal, Leicester, and then a couple of them are teams. But United won't fear any of them. So there'll be a chance there this year. I don't think they would have had a chance of winning the Champions League. Obviously, nobody wants to get knocked in the Europa League, but I think realistically they wouldn't have won it anyway. So, and obviously there's a big financial difference. There's a good chance if they got in the last 16, probably would have beat them anyway, or else quarter-final if they got it. So
they've drawn Real Sociedad, which is a hard game.
It's a hard game, but you look at the teams that could have played in the Champions League, and if they had a drew Bayern Munich or even a Juventus, I think it would have been tough. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on, but I think the Europa League could be a blessing for them, and it could be a chance for Ollie to get his first trophy. One other thing I'm going to touch on, and your favourite manager, Calum, is back in England, Sam Allardyce. I know you're a big fan of Sam. You said if you want to stay in the league, then you get Big Sam on.
I think it was an interesting call. I mean, Obviously, I don't really follow West Brom. I'm not sure who does, but I'm not sure if the West Brom fans have seen it coming. Obviously,
Sorry, any West Brom fans that are watching here, just in case you are.
no, but it's I'm not sure. I think it's an early call for West Brom. I think they've got on before. I'll say Andy before it's desperate. It's not desperate yet, but they're looking. They're
I
probably
know,
looking at
but
the future, thinking.
it's be me. It was just ruthless, and this is the thing Arsenal fans are going on about now. Well, they got a draw against Man City, but sure they could still sack their manager.
Well, I think it was premeditated because
it was
if
done.
They had got 5-0, then it would have looked all right.
I think it would have been. See if they had a bit, it would have been straight after the game. I think it almost made them look. They were probably thinking, "Oh, it's going to look stupid now." But at the end of the day, if you don't think that manager is going to keep you in the league, then why prolong it? Obviously, the way it was done, I think was regrettable because I think they actually apologised after that they were really disappointed of how it came out. And this is the problem too. There's a lot of leaks in clubs. You see a lot of these things getting leaked. Some bad publicity. And I don't know if it was a player that Bilic fell out with.
I was reading that Bilic saying he knew on the team bus back he was getting sacked.
He knew, yeah. So and that's not right. It was obviously done, and it was going to be, and obviously they didn't. And this is the reason I don't think they brought Big Sam in before the Man City game, was probably because they thought they were going to get bit, and they didn't want that sort of first game with Big Sam getting bit. They want a bounce now. They want that bounce. So Villa at home on Sunday. All right, Villa's been playing well, but you would think it's still going to be an easier game than playing Man City. But Big Sam, man, do you think he could keep West Brom up then?
He's a master, isn't he? He's never got relegated, so if there's any man that can keep him up, I think it will be him. I'm not sure. See, there's some bad teams down around there. Like
one last question, right? Do you think Arsenal have missed a trick here with Sam Allardyce?
Oh, gee, that's a jokey question.
But if you want to stay up, Arsenal fans will be crucifying me.
I'm not even answering that. That's a jokey question.
I still think West Brom's in trouble. I don't think they've got the players. Maybe Big Sam can work a miracle. The thing is, I fought against Man City. They're very well organised. And if Big Sam's in charge, it's going to be very similar tactics anyway. I don't know what he can maybe do. It's obviously their problem scoring goals, and I don't think Big Sam's
any team around down there. I think the main issue is always usually goals. Like where can they get goals from? They might buy someone January, I don't know, but
interesting. But brave call. The brave call. One thing you did say though, at least Bilic will be back on the TV. You think he's a good pundit? So
I think he's one of the better pundits. To be honest, hopefully they get him on. He's better than what they have on what they have on them.
Moving on to this weekend's games. These games just keep coming thick and fast at the moment. I just see these podcasts, man. It's just all happening so fast. And see by the time you finish one, you realise it's time to do another one. It's absolute madness. But start off tomorrow lunchtime, 12:30. Liverpool's travelling to Crystal Palace. You'll be up nice and early for this one, will you?
Of course, it's a big game now. Coming off the back of the Spurs one, I was saying earlier on, it's a tough game. Like, Eze and Saha, they're going to give you issues. They always will do.
Another one of them games, 12:30, up early, travelling to Palace. Not that the player, I'm not saying the players won't fancy it, but whereas Palace players will be up for it. Liverpool players are having to go there 12:30. They know they're on for a tough game too. Like, it'll be interesting to see how they've obviously played Brighton at 12:30 and they drew that game, so they'll be a wee bit on their bent. They'll be trying to kick on from that result. But how do you see it going?
I think. I mean, we need to improve. We need to improve our away record somehow. So a one tomorrow starts out there off well. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I'm obviously going to expect it to be Palace, but it's going to be a hard game. It'll be one goal on it, really. 2-1.
Only thing is, I think Palace are actually better away from home, according to the stats. But that's just fine.
I think the fans not coming on is going to be a big help. This.
I'm really torn in this one, and it's not the case where I'm going with my head and I'm going what I want. I think it's going to be either 1-1 or 2-1 to Liverpool. It's going to be that tight. I think it's going to be a fine margin. I wrote down 2-1 to Liverpool because that's what I'm swaying towards. And it's difficult because people could go, oh, how can you back against Liverpool? And it is hard. But if you look at their away form this year, they've only won one game. So it would be easily put down. They've had more draws than wins away from home. So the stats tell you this is a likely draw. But I just think Liverpool, they have to start winning away from home sooner or later. And that result the other night's I think it's going to kick them on, to be honest. I still think it's a hard game. I've gone 2-1 Liverpool. But well, I wouldn't mind a wee draw, to be honest. Might get us over the boost for Sunday.
I'll go 1-0.
1-0 Liverpool. Right.
1-0 Liverpool.
Do you know what? There's decent football on tomorrow. Southampton, Man City, 3 o'clock. This will be an good game.
Brilliant game, to be honest.
This should be good. I actually seen an Arsenal fan, right? And he was on one of them fan channels. He was actually criticising Southampton. He thought that Arsenal made them look good. He thinks they're not that good in general. And he said if you look at the results, Palace have beat them. Spurs put 5 past them. Chelsea drew with Chelsea or something as well. And there's a couple of other ones on there, but they were 2 up against United and beat 3-2.
That's 3-2, yeah.
And I thought that was harsh because I do enjoy watching them. I think they're good. I watched them. They smashed Everton 1 week there. Played really, really well. And you look at their form of the last. I keep going back to this, but their form since last November, sort of since after that 9-0 they Leicester, it's been really, really good. But they do play quite attacking football, and it's a game that might suit Man City. I know they're probably going to be a lot more reserved, but I think it's very difficult to switch from the attacking, going back to the sort of defensive style. So, how do you see it going?
Well, as you were saying there, just to finish off, they play expansive football. They like attacking. They don't really want to sit on. They don't want to do what Spurs do. They'll take the game to Man City, which I think they shouldn't be afraid of Man City. I don't think they should be afraid of Man City because you look at what West Brom done as well. I know it was an OG, but Man City can be got at this year. You've seen it before. My opinion, I think there's something wrong. Not something wrong, but they're just not the same team.
To be honest, them chances they must against West Brom were criminal. Sterling and Gundogan at the end. They've got to be scoring them. And there is a problem there with scoring goals at the moment. They've lost their clinical edge. They're definitely not creating as many chances as what I would say. They used to create that many. They took some of them, but they've really lost that clinical edge. It might only be creating maybe instead of creating 10 chances a game, they're only creating 5, and they're not taking the chances. Sterling's going through a really, really bad run. It's almost like the Sterling we seen at Liverpool, where he had missed really easy chances. Now, he still had it on him over the last couple of years, but you did see less of it. He was a bit more clinical, and they are, as you say, they can be got at. But it can be very dangerous to pick them on as well. And I just think they're bound to bounce back after that West Brom result. I just think they will.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 Man City.
I've gone a 3-1. I do think they'll win, but again, as you say, if Southampton get that first goal, it's a different game. Moving on to 5:30, another big game. Everton against Arsenal. I think this is a huge, huge game for Arsenal. I don't think Arteta can take an hard defeat, to be honest. I think the one thing that's helping them at the moment is there's not a lot of time between the games, so it's very difficult to try and get somebody in for a game if they do lose, and that's what's sort of helping them at the moment. If they were to lose this, for me, if I was in charge of Arsenal, I would be sick because it's the one thing that's happened during the week there. If you look at the table, some of the teams around the bottom have started to pick up points. So Arsenal's getting pulled closer down. They haven't really moved further away from fourth in terms of they're still 10 points behind. But all them teams in between them have won. So they're now like 6 points away from, I think it's 6 points away from Wolves, and they're sitting around mid-table. So there's a whole pile of teams sort of behind in front of them as well. So I think even if they won their next game, they're still sitting around 14th. So it shows you the sort of seriousness of the situation. I don't think Arteta can afford too many more bad results.
I think it's a rough game for Arsenal, to be honest, because Everton, they done Chelsea 1-0 at home, which I didn't expect to happen, and then they set up well midweek.
I didn't think Everton had that on them. They sort of grind out of one like that. I thought it was.
And then they go and beat Leicester 2-0 away from home midweek. So I think it's probably one of the toughest games at the moment.
The only thing that might count in Arsenal's favour here is Everton might underestimate them and think they're sitting down there. Well, let's have a go with them. They mightn't give them the same respect they give Chelsea. And if you do give Aubameyang chances, he'll score.
I think Everton have a few injuries too. James and Allen's out, I think. I was reading today.
I just think based on form and confidence, it's hard to make a case for Arsenal.
I think it's hard to go against Everton at the moment.
What are you thinking?
I don't see. It could get bad. It could be a rout, but I'm going to go.
I don't know about a rout, but Gabriel's missing too for Arsenal. That's a big loss.
I'm going to go 2-0 Everton. I can't see Arsenal.
I've gone 2-1. Still think it'll be tight enough, but
2-1.
Everton, oh jeez.
Everton do keep it.
I can't see
Everton
with
give it chances.
Gabriel.
So,
See with Gabriel being injured, I think they're going to struggle to do with Calvert-Lewin because Gabriel's their
uh,
best defender and he's out. And actually, Arsenal fans will be hoping he doesn't bring Bellerin back in after that suspension.
Everton's very good at set pieces too, so we'll be struggling there, I think.
And then, well, 8 o'clock, this was about an anti-climax. I don't think anybody will be watching this game, but Newcastle against Fulham. I think most people will be in the bar or else, I don't know, will be in a house somewhere because obviously before these restrictions up, I don't think too many people will be sitting watching this game. Newcastle against Fulham. Big game, to be honest, but I don't think anybody will be rushing to get watching it.
No, I mean, one of my good mates, Newcastle fans, will really want to hear what I'm saying about this here, but
what does he, before you start, what does he think of them?
Who, Newcastle?
Aye.
I think he's happy enough with the squad. I think he was happy with the signings this year of Fraser and Wilson and all. But he's not the biggest fan of Steve Bruce, to be honest. I think he doesn't like the way he plays.
Woeful,
He doesn't like the way Newcastle set up and the way they play because he feels they have good enough players to go and attack games where they actually do the opposite nearly every game. They sit back and they invite pressure.
I think Leeds ripped them apart. They only did anything with them back too.
And
you know what? But that was going to happen at some stage. Leeds were going to eventually because they do create a lot of chances and they've been getting well unlucky. I thought it was going to be against West Ham last weekend. It didn't happen.
That Leeds game against Newcastle sums Leeds up because if you give them time, they'll score goals and they're always going to create chances. But at the same time, they'll give you a few goals as well.
They're like my second team. I love watching them.
They're great.
Newcastle, what's your thoughts on Newcastle?
Newcastle, I think it's similar to what my friend would say. To be honest, I think they don't have an awful side. They have some good quality players in there, St. Maximin and Wilson and Fraser. I think he just came back there midweek off an hamstring injury.
I know they've won a couple of games. I know they've won a few games there. They beat West Brom and stuff, but I think they're really, really struggling. To be honest, they're riding their luck. A lot of their points this year have been very fortunate. I mean, you think about that penalty against Spurs. There was a free kick against Wolves. Keeper should have said they've been very, very fortunate. They do sit back. Obviously, we chat about Spurs doing it.
Well, is that not a result of the way they play, though? I think it's just because it's very negative at the moment. Like.
Sit back, but they don't really have. They struggle to get out. Then I don't think they have the players and like someone like Spurs do, but they can break quickly and score. They don't really have that quality.
They don't
Bruce has always been quite defensive, but I think it's really, really defensive. But they are a hard watch. But they'll make it difficult. Fulham will probably come here like the home team, and they'll probably have a lot of the ball. Fulham won't sit back. We've seen what Fulham did against Liverpool. They attack Liverpool, so they're definitely going to attack Newcastle.
If they have a bit of confidence, they'll take it to them, to be honest.
What do you think? I went for a 1-1 draw. I just think Fulham will probably absolutely pump them with chances and probably miss a few, and then Newcastle get a goal or something, just the way they've been doing.
I'm gonna go boring, to be honest. I'm gonna go for a 0-0 draw.
I wouldn't be surprised. I've gone 1-1. But I'll probably not be seeing much of it. Moving on to Sunday. Again, don't think I'll be getting up here to watch this one. 12 o'clock kickoff. Brighton against Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, it's getting grim for them. It's looking very, very grim. Don't think they played that bad against United last night. They were outclassed for most of the game.
To be fair, though, I think you're saying that nearly every week now. They don't play bad, but they're still getting. They're still not yet. They pick up points like it.
And you can't really say they were unlucky. The keeper made a really bad mistake for the third goal, but the 2 goals they got were quite lucky. There were 2. The first one was a mistake by the goalkeeper, and then the second one, I think Maguire heads it off McGoldrick's head. So it's. I can't really say their luck's not on in that game. If there was any game that was falling from, it was that game, but they just couldn't defend. First goal, just all that space for Rashford. And they're struggling by the time with confidence. What's that?
Brewster goes to Sheffield. I think he probably went to the worst team at the moment for him for his development, to be honest, because they're not creating chances.
I can relate to this, right? Because I played football, obviously, but played with Don Bosco years ago, right? And we were really, really poor. First year playing 11 aside, and we were getting absolutely pumped every week, smashed like it was a cricket score. And it used to be like going to game. You see, seriously, in our game this week, and it's hard when you're getting beat every week. And I just think it's getting that stage now where if they want to stay in the league, they're going to have to try and change something. I think Wilder's done a great job, but it's looking like it's not going to change. They're 9 points from safety now. That's quite a big gap when you haven't won a game. and we are 13 games on now, so we're a third of the way through, and it's getting desperate. Like where are these points going to come from?
As you say about West Brom, they were ruthless, and you have to be ruthless. They
Uh,
must be looking at him now, thinking, I know that he done well. They get them up.
Big Sam comes in, and I think too a lot of it will come down to results with our teams. If Big Sam comes in, they start winning games, then that's a relegation rival pulling away from them. So it's just I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to be loyal to Wilder. They are, because he's took them up 2 leagues. That's not easy. You know what I mean? And he's obviously a Sheffield United fan, but it's just not working at the moment, and they're really, really struggling. And this is a winnable game. Brighton, they've struggled at home. They've only won 1 game in the whole of 2020 at home, and that was against Arsenal, which they seem to love playing Arsenal.
You're looking at it for Sheffield, and you're thinking, anytime they play anybody and around them, it's their best chance to get a point there, to be honest. But
Brighton play good football though, and they do create chances.
Brighton, they'll take the game to them. I think it could be a Brighton one, to be honest.
I've gone 2-1 Brighton, but I think they need to try and they need to start picking up points, and this has a chance to pick up points. But when you've lost all these games, it's very difficult to get yourself up for the game, and I think that's what's happened at the moment. Right, 2:15, massive game. Spurs against Leicester. Well, it's not massive, but it is for me. Spurs play Leicester. Big game for Spurs, As I was saying there, Calum, big game for Spurs on Sunday. This is against Leicester. It's a must-win game for me. You have to get back to one of ways.
I think Spurs will probably win it. It'll be a good game to watch. I think it'll be near enough similar to every game you've watched of Spurs this year. They'll sit back, they'll do what they do, but I don't think Leicester have enough they create against them, to be honest.
The only thing that's slightly worrying me in this game is Spurs done a real number in Leicester back in May. It was second last game of the season. Spurs beat them 3-0, scored 3 goals in the first half, but they counter-attacked them. They sat back. It was probably, if you had to put it on, you probably would have thought it was from this season, because it was very similar to how we've been playing this season. Whereas last season was a while out of bad performances, but it was towards the end of the season when I started to think Mourinho was starting to put a stamp on the team. He had all these players fit as well. Kane scored 2 cracking goals. I think that they are one. It was a really, really good performance, and that's the only thing I don't think Rodgers will make the same mistake and being overly really sort of. I think they fought off Spurs. They'll there for the picking, and they get Spurs really punished them, and that's the thing I'm thinking that Leicester might be a bit more solid in this game. But as you say, they do struggle. They're struggling in these games. Every time they come up against a sort of team that does sit back, they struggle. Home form's been awful. It costs something like 4
I think Spurs could see a bit more of the ball, especially being at home, because the Leicester on the same way. So obviously Anfield's different, where they just kind of sit back and let you have the ball. So they might do the same against you. I'm not too sure, but I think Spurs will probably edge it, to be honest. I think it'll be tight. It could be a 1-0, I think, to be honest, or a 2-1.
I've gone 2-0. I think we'll get a clean sheet, but I don't think it'll be a 2-0. Where I think it'll be very similar to these Arsenal City games, where it's still going to be having to do a lot of defending. But I'm confident we'll get the 1. Hopefully we do.
I think Spurs will win the game.
4:30, this will be an absolute cracker. United against Leeds. I'm going to go out and watch this one in the pub, I think. It'll be really. I think Leeds will really take it to them. But they're going to have to be trying careful with this counter attack, because United, you've seen it last night. United, even against Sheffield United, they were fighting gaps. And Sheffield United were quite defensive. So there's definitely quality in the United team, and the way Leeds play will probably suit them, and that's the worry for them. But how do you see it going?
It'll be probably the best game this weekend, to be honest. 2 teams who are probably going to go for it. They're not excellent defensively. I think I fancy United 1, to be honest, but it'll probably be the best game this weekend to watch, I think.
Well, I've went United 3-1, but I think if Leeds will have to get that first goal, and then maybe United will have to go up, overcome it, and then try and catch them again. But as I said, Leeds, it was going to be some game where they clicked and they scored all them goals, and that's the slight worry for them. I don't think they've got the players to produce that consistently. They do miss a lot of chances, and this is the thing: if they go to Old Trafford and they miss chances, they're going to get punished. You look at Rashford last night; he was clinical. And that's the worry, and that's why I'm edging with United. But I still think it's going to be a good game. I've gone 3-1, but I think there could be plenty of drama on it. Moving on,
I'm going to go for 3-2. I think there'll be lots of goals.
3-2. Moving on to Monday night. Last games before Christmas. Last Premier League games. Burnley play Wolves at 5:30. I think this will be dreadful, to be honest. I think this will be worse than Newcastle Fulham game, to be honest. I think Burnley, you know what they're like. They don't cheat. They could be playing dairy reserves, and they would probably 11 men win the ball. But Wolves just aren't as good. They watch as they used to be. I don't know why that is. They've got a lot more. I know they've lost players. Maybe he thinks they're not as good anymore, so they have to sit back. But when they actually had a go against Chelsea, it was good. You know, they had a go against Arsenal and they won. They had a go against Chelsea in the second half and they won. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. Now they're probably going to be forced to go and attack Burnley because Burnley will be very, very defensive. I don't know. I think Jimenez is a big loss for them in games like this because they can play off him. Burnley they had no real goal threat at all, even against Arsenal when they won that game. They never created anything bar one chance in the first half, and then there's no G. And then against Villa last night, I don't know how Villa won that game. They battered them at the post bar. Keeper made save after save. So they don't really have anything going forward, Burnley. And I just think you just can't keep playing that way and getting away with it. So we've gone for a 1-0 Wolves won. But
I agree. I was going to go for a 1-0 Wolves as well. I think it'll be a bore match, but Wolves will probably just nick it.
So last game, Monday Night Football. I wonder if Gary Neville going to be on my Carragher. Hopefully he is. Chelsea against West Ham. This should be decent, you know. West Ham can be defensive, but they've got a bit about them going forward. And Chelsea going to have to win this. They can't afford an hour.
I think it's a big game for Chelsea because if we go and win tomorrow morning now early, and then Spurs pick up a one against Leicester, they're going to be coming up on the night thinking.
This is the thing. If all these teams, if United won and Spurs won, Liverpool won, and like all these teams around them won, Man City and stuff, Chelsea's going to go on that game under a bit of pressure. You know what I mean? Having said that, though, I still think home they'll win. But I don't think it'll be easy. I think they're going to be 1-2-1.
I'm not sure. I'll probably go 1-0. I don't think West Ham will do enough to score. I think they'll probably be a bit more assured at home at the back, or back-to-back defeats. So I think it'll be. I think West Ham will come at them. They'll want to score. Obviously, they have the players to do it, but probably go 1-0. I can't see a 2-1 to be honest.
Well, hey, that's we've come to the end of the show, Calum. Really enjoyed having you on. Some really good insight there as well. Obviously, all these guests have been absolutely fantastic. It's a pity I won't see you for Christmas. They buy his pint sake because I'm getting off late, maybe. But coming up, what's coming up on the show? I think we've got League Cup action this week. There's a few big games. Arsenal playing City, Everton playing United, Spurs are away to Stoke, Brentford home to Newcastle. So probably touch on the end games. Hoping to do something like a wee Christmas special. Maybe getting Zach back on for that there. I know a lot of people enjoyed them. But there could be a fair few podcasts coming up because there's a lot of games over Christmas and stuff. I don't really want to leave two shows day one because there's a lot to talk about then. So, but that's what's coming up. Calum, thanks for coming on. Really enjoy it. And hey, if I don't see you before Christmas, have a good one.
Hey, cheers. Thanks for having me on. You too. Have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers, thanks.